Welcome back to Talk to Harry. My name is Sarah Jane Subitan. In this episode, we have the Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan and another election watch group, the Legal Network for Truthful Elections. It's 14 days to go before elections, and it's about time that we know what are the election offenses and what can we do about them in the course of the upcoming elections, of course. We have here to my right Miss Selena Ratea, volunteer of the SLB. Welcome to the show, Selena. Renard Torrecampo. Hi, Renard. And also Chelsea Ballesteros from Lente. Welcome back again, Chelsea. All right. Okay, you young folks, you're all volunteers with election watch groups. Let's start with Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan. What exactly does Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan do for the upcoming elections?
Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan is a non-partisan, church-based, Jesuit-led organization. It is the political arm of the Society of Jesus. We were established in 1986, and since then we've been assisting for a clean and meaningful, peaceful election.
Does Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan support the stand of the Catholic Church with regard to the election issues that have been coming up lately? Yes, Renard.
Well, it's really hard to point that out because Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan is a non-partisan organization, so we really don't really stand about who to vote for or what people should like think about during the elections. What we want them to know through our election education is that they themselves should realize who to vote for, because even though we're part of the church, we still believe that the electorate can be informed, and from them their decisions are really coming from them, not really from us.
So SLB, or Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan, is a Catholic group.
Yes.
In other words,
it is part of
it. It's part of the church.
All right, it's part of the church. It is Jesuit-led. However, with regard to political stance, you don't necessarily take the stand of the Catholic Church. Chelsea, how far can the state go when it comes to supporting religion?
Well, actually, in our constitution, we have the separation of church and the state. So there's really a clear line that the church cannot meddle with the state practices, and the state cannot dictate on religious activities.
Are you all Catholics? You're all Catholics
Yes.
also. So more or less, you're still part of the Catholic Church. I mean, regardless of the partisan stance of the church, then you support the church in other ways, like for example, in helping with the upcoming elections. Simbahang Lingkod ng Bayan is supposed to, or is running a call center support service. Is that correct to say, Selena?
Gabay Halalan 2013, it's a call and text service wherein voters, if they have questions or concerns, they want to report an incident in their area, they can call our hotlines, they can also text.
Okay, and who answers the calls? Are those?
We have teleeducators. These are trained educators who have access to our information regarding, that may answer the voters' questions.
All right. What kinds of questions do you get? So your lines are already open
Yep,
to,
they're already open.
to voters and non-voters alike. Do you get calls, for example, from politicians? Or who usually calls SLB for support?
People are really interested to know about the elections, and people who have reports about their local cases, like vote buying, or the questions about how to vote, the legal dimensions regarding poster sizes in the campaign materials.
So what kinds of calls have you answered so far? What are the more common questions that are asked from Gabay Halalan?
We've had senatorial candidate profile inquiries, so they want to know more about the background of a certain senator, your candidate. Also, as Renard said earlier, mostly reports that there's vote buying in this area or poster sizes in this area is too big. So.
All right. Okay. Lente is also educating the public when it comes to election offenses, Chelsea. And on the day of the elections, one of the more vulnerable members of our society will be the election inspectors, or the teachers who will be in the polling precincts. We discussed last week the election offenses that are committed mostly by voters and also by partisan groups. But what about election inspectors or teachers? Are they also prone to committing violations of the election law?
Yes, because the BI is the primary, who has a mandate on the election polling place, right? So So they're also prone in committing certain violations. For example, if they refuse to sign or certify certain election documents, then they will commit this offense according to the law, that if they fail to, for example, put their signature in the reports like the election returns or the zero initialization report, then they will have the violation of refusal to sign and certify. Also, if they commit acts involving certain political activity, if they engage themselves like in campaigning or promoting certain candidates, then they are also violating the law, because according to the law, BI or the Board of Election Inspectors cannot participate in any political activities, which includes campaigning.
Like you guys, you are all volunteers of election watch groups, SLB and Lente, and you also are not going to engage in any partisan political
Yes.
activity during elections and before and
Yes.
after. However, well, there has been a report now. I think the viewers would be familiar with this. Some election watch groups have been under attack due to the alleged foreign funding that has come in. However, that particular election watch group has said that the foreign funding that came in, or the donations that came in for their activities, have no bearing whatsoever in how they formulate policy or how they're going to run their operations. Just merely to give the volunteers a T-shirt or a visibility material, meaning the posters that that particular election watch group has. And I would like to know, what does SLB and Lete, how do you support yourselves when it comes to your election operations? I understand most of your members are volunteers, and you are an NGO, you are a non-government office, but what about if somebody wants to donate, for example, to your cause? Are you able to accept that donation, or do you allow that? And how far do you think an election watch group should go in that direction?
I think for SLB, we go by partnerships, and yes, donations in kind. So, like for our volunteers, the food we eat, they come from kind donors. And our partnership to get us where we are, like Globe Telecom, who's helping us with Gabay Halalan. So there, we do partnerships.
Are most of your
forward.
volunteers also college students from the Ateneo, or do you have volunteers outside of the university?
We have volunteers outside of the university, but I think our base comes from within Ateneo, the Ateneo group.
Yes, but that call center facility, is that accessible nationwide by
Yes.
anyone from outside also
Yes,
of Manila?
it's accessible nationwide.
But how far have you gone in terms of educating the public about this service that you're providing?
We have voters education, which is one of SLB's projects, and through Gabay Halalan, when someone or a voter asks or reports a concern, we make sure to get back to them within 15 minutes. That's our time limit. And then so we give them the information they're asking for.
All right, let's go back to election inspectors, Chelsea. On the day of the elections, I think one of the vulnerabilities of our teachers is security. Will Lente be providing, for example, legal services to those who might be at risk during elections, or will COMELEC be the one to provide that?
In terms of security, well, we cannot address it really, because we're not capable of doing it as of now in ensuring that the volunteers specifically, or even the Board of Election Inspector, that they will be secure, because it's not our job to provide security. In terms of providing legal assistance, yes, that's the part wherein Lente will come into play, that we provide legal assistance specifically to those who want to file complaints on the violations that they saw in their in their precincts or polling centers.
I would imagine that on the day of the elections, the teachers themselves can be witnesses as well
Yes, they
to
can.
election offenses. However, that's when the security issue comes
Yes.
in, when you testify
Yes.
against, for example, a well-known politician, or just anybody, any voter who is armed, who can probably commit also a retaliation towards that election inspector. But at the moment, it is not, the COMELEC does not allow anonymous complaints.
Yes,
Is that
as of
correct?
the moment.
All right, so you will still need or require the support of the teachers
Yes.
if they witness.
If they would be the witnesses or the complainants who will
Themselves.
pursue the cases, then we will provide legal assistance. But we cannot assure 100% that we will be able to give them the security that they will need, specifically in areas that are really, you know,
Yes, there's the peace and
Check.
order
Yes.
situation is a little unsteady.
Yes.
Pero what else does, as an election inspector, what else can he or she violate during the elections?
Another is when the election inspector accepts or assumes the being a BI when he or she knows for a fact that he or she is not qualified. For example, we know that only public school teachers of good moral character and registered voter can be a BEI. If that person is not of those three qualifications and he or she assumes office and serves as a BI, then he or she will commit that offense.
All right, let's break that down. Is that a common occurrence during elections? I mean, somebody who assumes or pretends to be an election inspector, does that happen during elections?
It happened before that there are times when, for example, people would just put other BEI in certain
Alleged
yes,
BEIs or
allegedly they
impersonate.
claiming that they are BI, but the qualifications aren't there. So they have to know that it is a violation. It is against the law.
But I would imagine, like in some places, maybe there will be a shortage of teachers in the
Yes.
polling precincts or BEIs. Can the COMELEC appoint a substitute, even though he or she may not be qualified?
If there is no public school teacher in certain areas, then the COMELEC can appoint, for example, a private school
Individual,
teacher.
a private
But
school
it's
teacher.
still first a teacher. It's supposed to be a teacher. The first, it should be a public school teacher. Then if there's none, then it would only be the private school teacher. And if there is none, then the COMELEC should decide who to appoint, for example.
All right. Then, as an election inspector, what are the other violations that as you said, they cannot assume office if they're not qualified, and they also cannot engage in partisan political activities
Yes.
before, during, and maybe after elections.
Yes.
How about voting? Do they vote during
Yes.
elections?
They
And
will
how-
vote after. After there's 3 ballots reserved for them in every precinct, then they will vote after the elections. Like after everyone has voted, then they will do their share in voting.
All right, let's go back to SLB. As you said, your call center has already been operational. Do you get questions about the PCOS machines, for example, and are you able to explain the criticisms and the comments that have been hurled towards the automation system?
We have information about the PCOS machine, but about the issues, the source code, and all the stuff that the commissioner has spoken about, as of now, we really can't speak about that on their behalf because we don't have enough information about that. We just can't create information out of nowhere. So the information that we have been researched, but they're also parang validated in a sense.
But have there been questions or phone-ins about PCOS machines, and what kind
Yes.
of questions have you received? Have you been
A
asked?
few days ago, we received a question about undervoting, whether the PCOS machine will still accept it. And based on our research, it is legal to undervote, but you cannot overvote because then the whole part, like for the senatorial candidates, will be invalid. So even if you have, your perfect 12, it won't be counted if you put 13 or more.
All right. Undervoting is allowed. It can be read by the machine. But if you overvote, for example, you're supposed to shade 12 circles for senators and you shade 14, then your vote for that category is invalidated.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. So that's a good point for our viewers. You can undervote if you only have 3 senators in mind. Then you just shade their names and then not shade the others. Will that not render vulnerable the shading? For example, the cheating, will that not open a possibility for cheating if you just undervote?
Well, I don't think so because you're the one who brings your own ballot to the PCOS machine and you're the one who inserts it. No one's supposed to interfere with that.
All right. So what other questions are asked of you in relation to the automated system of voting, aside from the undervoting and overvoting?
As Renard said, regarding the technicalities of the PCOS machine, but then we're unable to.
But you have received questions to
Yes,
that
we
effect.
have.
And what do you normally say when you're asked, is there a glitch, is there a source code, and you're not able to answer? How do you turn down the caller or the text?
When it comes to legal questions, that's why we're partnered with Lente. So we forward our concerns or the concerns of the voters to Lente, and then when we get a response from Lente, that's when we'll get back to our callers. So we do get back to our callers. We don't leave them hanging.
All right, that's good because customer service practically doesn't work in this country. And believe me, I mean, if you have a mobile phone service, you're a postpaid subscriber, try calling those hotline digits. Nobody answers. And yet they come out with ads left and right, which I really don't understand. Because, for example, the elections, you're talking about you're doing a customer service to the voters and to partisan people as well, because you cannot screen who calls and who doesn't call, or who asks
Yes.
for legal advice and who doesn't. Although you try not to get involved in any political dispute, but you cannot help it. You cannot screen out who will avail of your service or who will be in need of your service on election day and before and after. But when it comes to, for example, as you said, automation, you cannot answer for the COMELEC, but I would assume that a lot of people are already calling you about it or expressing concerns. But you forward everything to Lente for a
legal
proper
concerns.
answer. Yeah, for legal concerns. How about Lente? How do you answer legal queries about the PCOS machine, the automation? I know that you are not supposed to comment or take a stand for or against the COMELEC and Smartmatic, but people are concerned about not only the technicalities but the legal side of it.
And we also ask COMELEC on how they would respond back to those questions, because we want also to make COMELEC accountable on certain issues, like what they said a while ago about the PCOS machine, because we cannot also answer IT problems, which is beyond our field. But what we can answer is what the law provides, what the law says on the automation system.
All right. Okay. Let's go back to the the automation. You said that if you can undervote, that's okay, but you cannot overvote. But it only disqualifies or disregards your vote with regard to that particular position, or
The
everything is disregarded.
Particular position.
Okay. So your vote for the mayor will still be counted, etc. Even though you overvote, for example, for councilors. How about if you smudge it too much beyond the circle? Is that read by the machine?
Mm, So the PCOS machine is very sensitive. So yes, when you like you shade below, beyond the given circle, it won't.
It won't be read by
yes,
the
it won't
machine.
be read by the
How about if the machine doesn't want to eat the ballot? You have to feed it and then it doesn't eat. Well, what will a voter have to do?
Well, actually, there are 4 ways on how you could feed the ballot. For example, in the first try, it won't read it. Then you can try it 4 ways, like for front, and then you rotate it, then you rotate it back, and then you rotate it again. If, for example, after several times that you've attempted to put it inside the machine and it won't be read by the machine, then the voter should inform the BI that there's this kind of incident, and the BI will take note of that incident, that the PCOS machine did not read this ballot at this time, and then after that, the voter cannot vote, unfortunately, because the principle is one voter, one ballot. So if that ballot is invalidated because it won't be read by the machine, then what the voter has to do is to tell the BI, and that the BI will take it down, take note of it.
There will be a record if
Yes.
in case a ballot is not
Read.
fed into the machine
Yes.
successfully, despite the 4 attempts
Yes.
that you mentioned, then the BI or the election inspector will make a record of it.
Yes.
But it is not a guarantee that that voter's vote will be counted.
Yes,
That's
because
that's what
the
you're saying.
machine is, as she said, it's very sensitive. So maybe there's marks around it, or smudges or stains, or that it was crumpled or folded. So we really tell people that if they would vote, they have to be very, very careful in filling out their ballots, because the machine is sensitive.
But you cannot ask for a new ballot
No,
because
cannot.
there's only one
One
ballot,
ballot,
per voter.
Yes.
So well, I think that's something that that's alarming to me, and maybe people, those who are voting for May 13, 20, are you guys of voting age already? Are you going to vote on May 13? All right, it will become a problem. What if on the off chance that you are unlucky enough to feed your ballot into the machine, then you might get disenfranchised, despite the
Yes.
fact that, as you said, it will be recorded by the
The
BI,
BI.
but whether or not it will be counted is it's a question mark or a gray area, because after the BI takes note of it, the counting will still be done by the machine.
Yes.
If your vote is not there, then it cannot be counted. So there's a risk of disenfranchisement in that sense. All right. Okay. More on election offenses when we return, and also from SLB and Lente right here on Talk to Harry. Don't anybody go away.